Class 10 History, Nationalism in Europe, Part 2. What did liberal nationalism stand for? During the early 19th century, the idea of nationalism and liberalism were closely related to the Europeans. The word liberalism is derived from the Latin word liber, which means free. In Europe, the new middle class saw liberalism as a freedom for the individual and equality of all before the law. They also stressed for the government elected by the people. Since the French Revolution, the term liberalism has taken shape into a new meaning. That is, the first one, the end of autocracy, and second one, end of clerical privileges. Clerical privileges means privileges enjoyed by the clergy. It also meant the framing up of constitution and formation of government through parliament. 19th century liberals also laid stress upon the right to property. Now, let's see the political meaning of liberalism. It stood for first one constitution, second one a representative government, third one a parliamentary system, ownership of private property, end of the privileges. But what was the drawback of political liberalism? It did not grant equal political rights to men and women. Women had to struggle for their political rights. In the economic sphere, liberalism means the freedom of markets, the abolition of state imposed restrictions on the movement of goods and capital, means the abolition of unjust duties on the movement of goods from one territory to the other. During the 19th century, this was a strong demand of the emerging middle class. This led to the beginning of economic nationalism in Europe, which contributed to the rise of nationalism. Now, Zollverein. When and why was the Zollverein formed? In 1834, a customs union or Zollverein was formed at the initiative of Prussia and joined by most of the German states. The union abolished tariff barriers and reduced the number of currencies from 30 to 2. The creation of a network of railways further stimulated mobility, harnessing economic interests of national unification. Now, conservatism. Following the defeat of Napoleon in 1815, the spirit of conservatism drove many European governments. They believed in established traditional institutions of society such as monarchy, church, etc. Most of the conservatives did not propose a return of the society to the pre-revolutionary days. They realized that modernization could strengthen monarchy. Modernization could make state power more effective and strong. A modern army, bureaucracy, a dynamic economy, and abolition of feudalism could strengthen the autocratic monarchies in Europe. Next one, Congress of Vienna. So, with this point in view, representatives of the European powers such as Britain, Russia, Prussia and Austria met at Vienna in 1815. This came to be known as the Congress of Vienna. These were those powers who had collectively defeated Napoleon, and they met at Vienna to draw up a settlement for Europe. The Congress was hosted by the Austrian Chancellor Duke Metternich. The delegates drew up the Treaty of Vienna of 1815, which reversed most of the changes that came in Europe during the Napoleonic Wars. Following were the important decisions taken by the Congress of Vienna. The Bourbon dynasty was restored to power. Louis XVIII was made the monarch of France. France lost all the territories it had acquired under Napoleon. A series of states were set up on the boundaries of France to prevent its expansion in future. Thus, with the new arrangement, some territorial changes were seen, such as the first one, the Kingdom of the Netherlands, which included Belgium, was set up in the north, and Genoa was added to Piedmont in the south. Prussia was given some important new territories on its western frontiers, while Austria was given northern Italy. On the other hand, the German Confederation of 39 states that had been set up by Napoleon was left untouched. In the east, Russia was given part of Poland and Prussia was given a part of Saxony. The main intention of the Congress of Vienna was to restore those monarchies that were overthrown by Napoleon and to create a new conservative order in Europe. Let us see features of the conservative regimes set up after the Vienna settlement. The conservative regimes set up in 1815 were all autocratic. They did not tolerate criticism and dissent and sought to curb activities that questioned the legitimacy of autocratic governments. Most of them imposed censorship laws to control what was said in newspapers, books, plays and songs, and reflected ideas of liberty and freedom associated with the French Revolution. Now, the next one, the revolutionaries. What led to the rise of revolutionaries? During the years following 1815, the fear of repression drove many liberal nationalists underground. Secret societies sprang up in many European states to train revolutionaries and spread their ideas. To be a revolutionary at this time meant a commitment to oppose monarchical forms that had been established after the Vienna Congress and to fight for liberty and freedom. Most of those revolutionaries also saw the creation of nation states as a necessary part of their struggle for freedom. Now, we are going to learn about an important revolutionary of the period, Giuseppe Mazzini. Giuseppe Mazzini was an Italian revolutionary who wanted to unify Italy into one nation on the basis of language. He joined the secret society of the Carbonari and later founded two secret societies called Young Italy and Young Europe. He believed that Italy could not continue to be a patchwork of small states and kingdoms. It had to be forged into single unified republic. Mazzini's relentless opposition to monarchy and his vision of democratic republics frightened the conservatives. Metternich described him as the most dangerous enemy of our social order. Now, when France sneezes, the rest of Europe catches cold. Who said this? This remark was made by the then Austrian Chancellor Duke Metternich, who was a staunch conservative. After the revolution in France in 1789, the revolutionary spirit spread to other parts of Europe and the world. The French revolutionary ideas of liberty, equality and fraternity had great influence over the people all over the world. Similarly, after the revolution in France in 1830, it sparked revolutions in other parts of Europe. The Greek War of Independence of 1821. Greece had been a part of Ottoman Empire since 15th century. Influenced by the revolutionary nationalism in Europe, the struggle for independence started by the Greeks in 1821. Nationalists in Europe got support from those Greeks who were living in other parts of Europe in exile and the West European countries who had sympathies for ancient Greek culture. The Treaty of Constantinople of 1832. Poets and artists lauded Greece as the cradle of European civilization and mobilized public opinion to support its struggle for independence from the Ottoman Empire. The English poet Lord Byron organized funds and later went on to fight the war, where he died of fever in 1824. In 1832, Greece gained independence according to the Treaty of Constantinople.